Why don't you give it to me? This gang of policemen raided a house in El Paso and found it full of dead Latinos. There was only one survivor at the crime scene. He called himself a traveler and said he had lived for thousands of years. The traveler warned the police that if you don't let me go in 90 minutes, everyone in the police station will be dead. He explained in a nonchalant manner that there is a portal to other worlds in this land. The mythical creatures, demons, and undead are actually real. He saw that the two policemen did not believe his words, so he told 4 stories that happened in Latin America. The first story is called, I Saw It Too. The protagonist, Gus, is a math genius with communication difficulties. He can see things that others cannot. In order to allow other people to see ghosts, Gus developed an algorithm that could open up the world of yin and yang. However, this method was extremely unstable. People around him regarded Gus as a madman. Instead of being discouraged, he invited an internet celebrity blogger to make the existence of ghosts public. After Gus arranged the scene, he turned on the flashlight of his mobile phone and then shipped the flashlight according to the algorithm. The blogger suddenly walked forward. He looked weird and hurriedly took out his mobile phone and made a call. Gus was still trying tirelessly. Unexpectedly, this time the blogger really caught a glimpse of the ghost in the mirror. He grabbed his bag and left in a hurry. Gus was very upset when he saw this. He sent a message to Lord Burke that night, wanting to know why he left suddenly. Then Gus called his sister and promised her to go to Japan to participate in the Rubik's Cube competition and sell the old house as soon as possible. Just then, a monster suddenly appeared from Julie. Lucy was so frightened that he collapsed to the ground. She rolled and crawled away and accidentally sprained her finger. After Gus broke the joint, he took a knife from the kitchen. He braved it and went back to the living room. The monster was really an eyesore. He pulled a blanket over him. Then he sent photos to his sister. At this moment, Burke's shoes suddenly visited. It turned out that the reason why he ran away during the day was because he saw his mother here. The blogger made the call because he wanted to contact his mother to confirm the situation. However, no one answered the call, and he hurried to his mother's nursing home. As a result, after learning about the other party's death, Lord Burke felt that all this was not a coincidence, so he came back to find Gus to ask for details. Wen Yin then led Lord Burke downstairs, and the monster was still huddled under the blanket. Lord Burke used his umbrella to lift the blanket and found that the monster was his mother. Mother and son hugged each other and cried, but Gus knew that this monster did not belong to the world. He immediately used an algorithm to open the passage between the two worlds and wanted to send the monster back to another world. Unexpectedly, after the lights ended, Lord Burke and his mother exploded together. Gus hurriedly left the room to contact his sister. Before he finished speaking, a monster that looked similar to him appeared. When the police heard this, Big and Traveler, we were not sitting in the interrogation room just to listen to your ghost stories. At this moment, the subordinates came over and reported the information they used to identify the traveler. Traces of this person were found from the database. But the strange thing is that the photo dates back to 1973, and according to the police department, this person died in a car accident as early as 1997. Is it true that he can live forever as the travelers said? The police refused to believe anything the travelers said. They asked the two men to shoot at themselves. Of course the police refused. What if they beat this guy to death? They would have to make a living. Traveler Wen Yin untied the ties on his hands. The wounds that were deeply visible just now have recovered as before. Seeing that the two policemen looked relaxed, he immediately asked each other if they had encountered any difficult cases recently. All the victims' blood had been sucked dry, and the policeman showed doubts. When asked how the traveler knew the secrets of the police station, the latter replied that he knew who the murderer was. So the second vampire story unfolded. On Halloween night, Vampire White had a party all night long and sucked half of the wall curtain dry. Halloween is the favorite day for vampires because the streets are full of people in strange costumes. They are not afraid of causing panic. Old White has been looking forward to this day all year long. Unexpectedly, his companion called him suddenly and asked him if he was married and committed. There were only 15 minutes left before sunrise. If Lao Bai didn't return to the coffin as soon as possible, he would be destroyed by Ak. However, he has lived for more than 500 years without getting his driver's license, so Lao Bai can only plead with his companion Mary to drive to the old city to pick him up. Mary asked Lao Bai to turn into a bat and fly back, but the other party has not used this trick for a long time and is now very unskilled in business. At this moment, a young man riding an electric scooter passed by Lao Bai and knocked him unconscious. He grabbed the scooter and drove away. Where has the old antique come into contact with this thing? He was a little selfless while playing, but was stopped by a few young men playing clowns and sold his favorite silk shirt. Without saying a word, Lao Bai caught up with these stupid kids. He stood there for a while to catch his breath, and then tore several young men into pieces. He never thought that two policemen on patrol approached Lao Bai and hurriedly hid the heads behind him. The police thought it was a Halloween costume and insisted on taking a photo with their arms around the severed head. He licked the blood on his hand and then realized that the severed head was not syrup. The two hurriedly took out their pistols, and Lao Bai quickly reached out to hypnotize them. But the problem is that he can only hypnotize one person at a time. If this continues, he will die from exhaustion. Lao Bai quickly ran out of the alley to dodge the crowd. Seeing that the two policemen were about to catch up, he hurriedly hid in a small door on the street. As a result, there was a smell of barbecue coming from nowhere. Lao Bai actually hid in the church. The sunrise was coming soon. At the critical moment, Mary came anyway. Lao Bai quickly got into the car, and the two of them sped towards home. Unexpectedly, they encountered a traffic jam halfway. It was too late to go home now, so they had to get into the trash can nearby. Unexpectedly, the garbage lid could not block the sun. When it got bright, nearby residents came to throw away garbage Halloween. If, as the travelers said, the murderer had been reduced to ashes, then the case would have to be dropped. The police took out the things they found on the traveler. There were keys, daggers, and even a piece of paper inside. The police picked up a small bottle of blood and asked the traveler where these things came from. The latter honestly told him that it was a sacred object in the Mexican shamanic ceremony. Then the traveler's third story was about the Nahua people. The background of the story is set in Catemaco, Mexico. The protagonist, Asan, leads a horse on the road, carrying a corpse on its back. Asan arrives at a country villa and locks the body into a secret warehouse. He was so nervous that he didn't realize that a man in a blue vest was secretly watching Asan wash off the blood on his hands and sit in the bedroom with a gun. Just then, the phone rang. On the other end of the phone was Agent Ross from the CIA. Through the phone call between the two, it was revealed that Asan's wife and children were all killed by gunfire. In order to avenge his relatives, he planned to cooperate with the CIA to help them overthrow the government leader Jose. Jose was involved in the illegal drug trade and massacred innocent people in the United States. As the first witness, Asan is the key figure in bringing down Hisai. The detective said that at 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, they would arrange for someone to pick him up and leave Mexico. Unexpectedly, before the call was finished, a figure appeared outside the door. Asan hurriedly chased after him with a gun. The man stood behind him and screamed at Asan. Vincent felt dizzy. Then the blue vest also ran out. He and his accomplices worked together to knock Asan unconscious and tied him up in the rainforest. A white-haired Nala witch came out. She killed Asan in the trap and used the opponent's blood to gain power. The witch's bones were twisted and deformed, revealing a fox-like mouth. Then she returned to the hut in the forest and used powerful power to awaken the dead tribesmen. The traveler's bottle contained Asan's remaining blood. After hearing this, the policeman picked up the bullet on the table and asked about the story behind it. The traveler explains that this is a holy bullet that can kill anything because the iron wire inside is from the nails that nailed Jesus. However, the holy lance that matched the holy bullet has disappeared. He found the bullet. He wanted to deal with the Saint Deaf traveler from Colombia. When he was young, he made a deal with the Saint Deaf and even used the lives of his wife and daughter as collateral. But what the Saint Deaf always wanted was the traveler's life. That's why the traveler was looking for Christmas and wanted to take advantage of him. Unexpectedly, he was caught by the police on the way. He was leaving in a hurry because the saints were about to kill him. Coincidentally, it was the holy spear that had been lost for 80 years. It was in the drawer of the police station at the moment, but the police were cautious and did not hand over the winning gun immediately. In order to make them realize the seriousness of the problem, the traveler began to tell the last part of the story. The protagonist of Zanzibar Hammer, Calm, had dinner with his ex-girlfriend in a restaurant. The mutual friends of the two have recently been investigating the case of mysterious deaths one after another for many days. They suspected that the ex-girlfriend was behind the scenes. The latter, Wen Yan, stopped pretending. In fact, the ex-girlfriend was disguised as the Holy Death picture. The lively scene in the restaurant was all an illusion. Calm immediately took out his gun and started shooting. However, ordinary bullets like this were unable to harm the Holy Death. Seeing the enemy floating in the air and heading straight towards Calm, the latter had no choice but to continue shooting. The Holy Death suddenly disappeared. The next second, he attacked from behind and pushed Calm a few meters away. Just when he thought he had a chance to win, Calm took out the hammer of Zanzibar. A week ago, he escaped from a mysterious grocery store and found his treasure from the hands of the devil. Calm used a hammer to blow up the Holy Death picture, but the next second he woke up from the illusion and found that he had killed all the guests in a restaurant. The Holy Death picture had long since disappeared. The police asked, was Kun later arrested? As expected, the white police would not embarrass the white travelers. After telling the story, he wanted to beg the police to let him go, but the Holy Death picture had already arrived at the police station. It was too late. He stretched out his hand to control the police in the lobby. The latter immediately killed all his colleagues around him like a puppet, and then committed suicide. In a moment, the forbidden area was already bloodbath. The survivors fired bullets at the saints, destroying their shells, and the saints revealed their true bodies. The two policemen did not dare to talk nonsense and immediately handed the holy gun to the traveler. The other policeman rushed out of the interrogation room with the gun and shot the holy dead man with a bullet. The latter noticed that the situation was not good and quickly left the number. The traveler continued to escape in his car. Because the Holy Death would never give up, who knew he was stopped by the traffic police in the middle of driving. At the end of the film, several B-level horror and nonsensical paragraphs are combined into a new low-cost film. The first story is directed by the ghost Yun. Chow Dao uses the flashlight to open the entrance to another world. The setting is quite innovative. Maybe it would be more exciting if it were longer, but except for the first paragraph at the beginning, the remaining 3 stories are more boring than the other, and the overall quality is uneven, so the overall look is relatively average. It is labeled as a horror film, but it is not scary at all.